So I mentioned yesterday about apps in Schoology. Apps are ways that we can connect certain web services or sites that we use with Schoology, and it makes a sort of seamless integration. So one of those apps that we are definitely going to want to utilize at Indianola is the Google Drive app. So I'm going to show you. Yesterday, you probably created a course info folder in which you were going to place your syllabus and your pacing guide. And since I think probably most people did their pacing guide in Google, this is a great example of how to utilize that Google Drive. Yesterday, if you did this, you may have gone to add materials and then just add file, link, external tool. And then you could have just downloaded the file, or maybe you linked to your pacing guide. And so that's fine. It just means that someone has to actually click on that and download that file or open that link and go to that to see that, which might work fine for a pacing guide, or you might prefer to not do it that way, especially if it's something for students. You might want them to just see it right away. So I'm going to show you another way that you can utilize things that are in your Google Drive. So we're going to go down to actually import from resources. And all apps that you have will be housed in resources. So you click here on the apps, and you'll see that I have several apps installed. You have Google Drive, and that might be the only one that you have at this point, and that is just fine. So you click on Google Drive, and it's going to bring your Google Drive up. You might have to authorize this. You might have to sign in with your password the first time you do this. So if that comes up for you, go ahead and do whatever it asks you to do, and then you will see it bring up your Google Drive. Now, one warning for you. This is not a snapshot of your Google Drive. This is your actual Google Drive. So I can click on any of these documents and I can edit them right here in Schoology. But just know that if you edit them here in Schoology, you are actually editing them in Google Drive as well. Whatever you do here is going to show up in Drive. Whatever you do in Drive is going to show up in Schoology, depending on how you insert it. So I'm going to go and find my pacing guide, which is in the High School English PLC folder. And I'm going to choose this one right here. Now, to import this, well, let me show you first. I can check this. I can see if this is what I want to use. I just click on it, and you'll see that it'll open it right up here for me. I can edit this. I can make any changes that I want to. If I see a typo and I think, oh, that's not really the right date, we're not going to do that on the 15th. We're going to do that on the 14th. Okay, whatever. Then that is actually changing it in my Google Drive. Okay, so then I'm going to X out of this. If I want to import that into my folder for my materials for my course, I'm going to click on it, and this import drop-down menu comes in. So let me talk about the differences between importing file and importing link. If I import a file, it is going to take a snapshot of what my Google document looks like right now. And it's going to place that static file in Schoology. It won't change no matter if I do go back. If I went to that pacing guide and I altered it at a later date, it would not affect what shows up in my Schoology folder unless I upload it. I re-import that file. Okay. This would be great for probably most of your files. You're going to do it once, you're going to import it, it's going to be fine to leave it that way. Maybe you'll update it next year, so maybe at that point you decide to import a new updated version of it. But for something like your pacing guide that's not really a static file, you might consider importing it as a link. When you import it as a link, it is a live link. It's going to show whatever your Google Drive shows at that moment. So if you go in and you update your pacing guide tomorrow, what shows up in Schoology is going to be the newly updated pacing guide. So for something like your pacing guide, that might be a really good thing, especially since many of you are working with a brand new pacing guide, something you wrote last year, and it might be something that's sort of in flux. It's going to change. You're going to have to kind of play it out and see what happens this year. For import private link, I would actually probably never do this. The training that I went through, the woman said she had not found a really good reason for this. Basically, this would import a private link that only you could access. So that would be probably not very helpful. One caveat about the importing link that I didn't mention, but I need to, is your sharing settings have to be set up correctly. If I'll just go into my folder again, or my document, and just show you what my sharing settings say. If I go up here to share, if you just hover over it, it will tell you anyone with the link has access to this. There's no sign-in required. That's perfectly fine for my pacing guide. But I'm just going to click on this and show you what your options are. Let's say that this said anyone at IHS at Indianola can view. You have to kind of think about that. This is a pacing guide, and the recommendation or the expectation from our district is that parents are going to be able to see the pacing guide. Parents can't see, if we choose this one, anyone from Indianola, because they don't have an Indianola account. If we choose anyone with the link can view, then it will only be people who have access to Schoology, who have access to this link, who can actually get there. And that is probably the choice that we want to choose for this particular document, because we want parents to be able to see it as well. That wouldn't be the case for maybe everything that you want to put in Schoology. There might be some things that have student work, and so maybe you don't want to share that with all parents. It's like a privacy thing. There might be something that you want to keep sort of like in the bubble, not go outside. So you can check this before you actually import the live link. So in this case, I have what I need. It says anyone with the link can view, and that's what I want it to be. So then I can X out of this. I can click on this. I can import the link, and it will update that. So there is my English 9 pacing guide. If I click on it, it's going to take me right to that document. And they can scroll down and see exactly what we're doing and when we're doing it.